I'm Tania Gustafson, award-winning nutritionist, behavior specialist, and certified mental wellness coach on a mission to help midlife women move from barely surviving to thriving. You have been lied to. Weight gain, mood swings, hot flashes, brain fog, despite what the world and even your doctor may have told you, do not have to be your story. You are not broken. You've just never been shown how to fuel your body in a way that creates hormonal balance. Fit Woman Podcast is where we expose the lies and share all things to help women take back control of their health, hormones, weight, and mental wellness and thrive through midlife. I'm so glad you're here. Hello there and welcome to Fit Woman Podcast. Today, I am super excited to have one of my good friends, a local health phenomenon here in the Okanagan. I've got Maria Field of Calm Connections here with me. Maria is a trauma-informed EFT practitioner and emotional intelligence coach. So she works with adults and children to take charge of their emotions through a mind-body approach so that emotions do not have to take charge over your day-to-day life. She works with generational healing, self-transformation, and connecting families at a deeper level. And that's what's unfolding through her work. It's really fascinating. So welcome, Maria. Thanks for joining me here today.
Thanks for having me, Tania.
You are so welcome. So, all right. Give our viewers a little overview of what it is you do, what's your niche, because Calm Connections can mean a lot of things.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Well, my journey goes way back, but what I really found to truly light my soul up and where I've just strengthened, I started working with children many years ago as a preschool teacher. And I realized that I needed to go a little bit deeper to help connect families. And so this is when I kind of went back into training and retrained as an EFT practitioner, which is known as emotional freedom techniques. Mm-hmm. So I've got a lot of history and education in childhood development, emotional development, birth to 7 specifically, a lot of education around trauma and different practices there. And then I retrained in EFT and sort of combined everything together. And I this comes from my own journey of walking my own path as a mother of 3 and working with families for so many years and realizing just they want a lot out there about with trauma education and emotions. There's a lot of talk about mental health and behavioral support systems, but there wasn't a lot in the middle. And so that's really my niche, if you like. It's more work in the emotional wellness field rather than the mental health, even though it all combines and it's all relevant and it all connects to physical health, mental and emotional health. Really the root of where I work is in the emotional body, as I call it.
Okay. So you're like bridging the gap.
Yeah.
Okay. And so just for clarification, EFT, I knew it as tapping.
Yes.
Right. So that's the kind of the slang word out there for EFT.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's also known as tapping, emotional freedom techniques. It's a phenomenal modality. It's been around now, I believe, almost 30 years, clinically studied, proven in so many areas. It was originally discovered helping war veterans for PTSD.
Really? Okay. I did not know that.
Yeah, so it's got a lot of clinical studies and they keep growing now. It's phenomenal. The science is finally catching up. And there's so much proof on what it does for the physical body, for physical health ailments, but also obviously emotional, mental, addiction tendencies. And I'm trained in a lot of advanced techniques. So I combine a few different modalities with that. And I find we have some really fast results that are able to get to the root of struggles. Around anxiety, panic, and all of these more common things that we see, but what's underneath there? Because that's how we really can then break that cycle.
Right. I mean, you can do some things to mitigate the symptoms, but what is the root, right? And that's what you're getting to is the root. Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So,
and that was, really my own journey of looking for something to get to the root because I was sick of spiraling.
Yeah. Well, that was my next question. Exactly. You just led right into that. So just what brought you to that? Like, how did you find EFT? Because it was very obscure.
Yeah, right. Okay, this takes me back. This takes me back. I was a teenager struggling with anxiety. Well, I didn't even know it was anxiety back then.
Right?
It was panic attacks and anxiety that I now know to be true. So I'd go in a grocery store. It was when I lived in the UK. I've been in Canada since 2012, and I was a young girl in a job that I enjoyed, and I was able to drive these company vehicles, and I had to do a lot of errands, and I'd go into these places, and I'm very sociable, and then all of a sudden I'd feel like the walls was caving in and the panic in my body, and I just need to escape. And I remember going in grocery stores, collecting, all my groceries, going to the checkout, panic would overcome me. I've got to get out of here. And this became a problem. It began to take over. And I went off to the doctors back as a teenager and was given some pills that didn't make me feel that good.
Yeah.
And no one really spoke about this back then. This was in the late 90s.
Yep.
It was not spoke about.
No.
And I'd created some poor habits. I was a binge drinker. So on a weekend, I'd
Mm.
drink. And then when I look back, there were so many pieces that connected to all of it. I had very low self-confidence, self-esteem. I didn't really know who I was. And
Mm.
then I had all this emotional charge, as I call it, in my body that was creating these paralyzing cycles that then just made me want to drink more and eat my feelings away.
Right. Yeah.
Um, yeah, and so I tried traditional talk therapy, counseling,
Okay.
talk therapy. It was helpful to a degree, but there was a lot of blame pointed at others and no
Mm.
real tools given. So mental health running the family, and that was pointed out. And it was almost like, well, you're just like them. It runs in the family.
Oh,
And as a young girl, a young teenager, still a teenager at 18,
yeah.
now raising my own three, that's a lot with
That
no
is a lot.
tools. But there was something inside of me that was just this little fire of like, no, there's got to be a different way. And it was a combination of things what happened. I actually had really bad eczema at the time, like awful eczema. I used to bleed under my arms, like huge patches.
Oh,
And I'd done the traditional methods of, creams and all the things, and nothing really worked. And it was around that same time, my dad actually took me there was a Chinese herbalist down
okay.
this little back alley. Again, no one knew what this was. I remember
Right.
sneaking
Yeah.
in thinking, where am I going? And I learned about Chinese medicine, and I came out with a bag of twigs, literally. It looked like herbs and twigs. I
Right.
made this tea and it started to help. So that then opened my eyes of like, okay, there's got to be other ways to healing than just what the doctor is offering me that's not working.
Exactly.
And I really believe that planted some firm seeds that kept me open-minded. And then a couple of years later, I became a mom quite young. And then I had my second baby, and I had a lot of health issues.
Mm.
I had to have her 7 weeks early. I was very, very
Oh.
sick. She was very sick. There's a lot of trauma. We spent a lot of weeks in the hospital, and I spiraled after that. There's a
Mm.
lot of other life events that went on. There was a first near death in the family, and I knew I needed to find something because I was just falling into this black hole.
Oh no.
And at this point, I had a 3-year-old and a new baby.
Right.
We just moved house. We both had our own businesses. I had a daycare back then in my home. My husband ran his own business, and we didn't have holiday sick time.
No.
I had to get back to work. And so I was like, I have to find something. Like I can't do the talk therapy thing, which just kept me going around in circles and honestly made me more angry when I look back.
Mm.
It very nearly cost me some very dear relationships to me. And that's when I discovered EFT
Hmm.
through a therapist that was more hypnosis and EFT. And I remember the first session. At this point, I was eating my feelings away.
Mm.
binge eating, out of control, not the alcohol because I was breastfeeding, but the binge eating had taken over. And really, I'd replaced the alcohol binge drinking with the food.
With the food. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a very similar cycle. Um, and I remember my first session and just part of my mind wanting to go, what the heck is this? This is weird. And the other part of my brain, this makes so much sense. This makes so much sense. And I was just blown away by this first session of how I was able to actually drop into my body and hear that inner voice that I had not heard for so long because I'd been so in my head trying to work it out and trying, feeling like the world was against me. And I felt a calm that I'd not felt, I don't think, in so many years because
Wow.
EFT truly works with the nervous system. And when we can take ourselves out of that fight, flight, freeze, fawn response,
Yep.
even for, I think this was probably 10 minutes, the first session, it's profound what you start to notice and hear.
Yeah.
And oh, I was just blown away. And I knew very quickly, I was like, oh my gosh, imagine if I could teach this to kids. Imagine
Oh,
if I could help other families, even though I had a lot of work to do myself still.
right.
And it just really opened my eyes to how much programming and conditioning is in the world around us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And having that quiet time, just gave me that stillness to hear like
Mm-hmm.
who I was and what I needed, and then connect some dots to things from my past childhood and my parents, upbringing generationally, because
Yep.
there's so much of that plays into our behaviors and beliefs as well.
So what did you hear? What was the first thing you heard?
Well, for me, some of the big patterns that came through was reminding me of childhood.
Oh,
So this was literally one session, and this is why I love EFT so much, because if you're open, you can get to the root of things very, very quickly. And I didn't have logical memories of being a 3-year-old, but in this session, there was this clear memory of being 3. And then I'd learn after the session, going back and speaking to my mom and saying, what happened when I was 3, trying to piece things together. And it had been a horrendously hard year for the family.
oh,
My mum had lost her dad, her mother had nearly died, my dad was super
oh
sick.
my
There
goodness.
was so much that had gone on, and as a 3-year-old child, that's very disruptive. There's a lot of fear, uncertainty, and feeling everyone else's emotions.
Yeah. You're like a little sponge
Yeah,
soaking it all
yeah.
up. And the grown-ups in the room aren't recognizing what's happening with the little person.
Because they're just trying to function and get through.
Yeah, they're just trying to get through the day.
They've never experienced a death of a parent for the first time, and
Yeah.
what's going on with their emotions. But we soak it all up. And because I've worked with children for so many years, since I was like 21,
Mm-hmm.
I'd studied birth to 7 intensely. And at the time in the UK, there was an amazing program that really structured in on that. So as soon as I had this moment, I was like, oh my, no wonder. And all these dots just started to connect. And I started to remember, my dad's coping mechanisms and how I'd mirrored some of that, and how food gave me comfort in some of those moments as a young child where there was a lot of sadness and grief and uncertainty. And well, food made me feel good in those few moments.
Yeah.
And so I learned very quickly of, oh wow, I learned this. I learned to lean into that food and change that feeling state because it made me feel safe.
Yeah.
And it took me away from those feelings. And, I do believe we're all sensitive humans, especially children, but we all also feel through our own lens. There's
Mm-hmm.
different factors. And so that was really where it all began. And it made such a difference very quickly that I started to tell people that I cared for, because I knew that they were struggling,
Mhm.
and then saw how they got help.
Yeah.
And like I said, this was 20 years ago now. So it feels like a lifetime ago. But that's really where I learned EFT, and I went back and did more sessions with this guy, and then studied and sort of combined that with some trauma education.
Hmm.
Um, and brought that into like my more traditional education of working with children as a preschool teacher. And
Right.
I slowly started to bring little pieces of a mindful approach into my work. But this was like years ago before mindfulness was a thing.
Yeah.
It wasn't until it kind of got trendy. I was like, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for
You're
years.
just ahead of your time, Maria.
Yeah, but didn't really connect it all until I worked with a lady here who really sort of had that vision, and it was just a very natural entry for me, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So that brings me to like the women that you're working with. You said you connected with this woman. So you're working with women mostly, I would imagine, right? Women and children, families.
Yeah, but a lot more men
Oh,
these
really?
days, because I am fortunate enough to come into the addiction space
Okay.
somewhat through who was a client actually of mine, ended up becoming sober, not just through me. She's been doing lots of amazing work, and now she facilitates at an addiction center. So
Oh, that's
that's brought
awesome.
in more male clients. And then also, a lot of women that I've worked with, their husbands have seen a change in them, and they're like, "What are you doing? I'm curious." So that's
Oh,
becoming more of a common theme, which I love. I love.
yeah. Well, that's just the best thing, right? When one parent is doing so well, the other one, it's great that they want to join in and do that, you know?
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fantastic.
And not
Uh,
that's not everyone, but I would say mostly women,
yeah.
mostly mothers, and teens or younger adults is the main group that I work with.
Yeah.
But yeah, more males are definitely more fathers really
Okay.
are coming
That's
on board.
encouraging. That's really
Yeah.
encouraging. Really?
Hmm.
Like, because we're going to have some mentally healthier males out there leading families, which is always a good thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So what have you noticed about women shifting over the last couple years? Like,
So, well, I feel like there's a shift in stigma for one.
mhm.
I would see a big theme in shame when people reached out for help. They didn't want people to know. It was all hush hush. That was my story. I remember the first counselor I went to and parking my car 3 blocks over and hoping no one had seen me. But I feel like that is still relevant for a lot of people. But I'm seeing a
It is.
shift, and I'm also seeing people seeking help before they're at rock bottom. Whereas the
Okay.
older theme, I feel like it was I have to reach rock bottom before I can see the light, before I can move forward.
Right.
And I'm seeing a change in that of like people, they're doing okay still, but
But they just want to do better.
they want to do better. They want more
That's
ease.
good.
They want better health. I'm also getting more clients come through the medical health space.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, who are actually learning for themselves, or if they're fortunate to have a doctor or a specialist that encourages them to look at their emotional health and past trauma. That's been a big shift as well. And then people realizing, you know, smaller struggles, trying to capture them before they become a bigger problem.
Okay.
More parents aware of their own struggles playing out with their children.
Mm.
I'm seeing a shift there, whereas I would say even 4 years ago, 3, 4 years ago, there was way more conversations of my child's the problem.
Oh, okay.
My child needs I can't the child is the problem. The child is the
Right.
problem. I
Yes.
can't help them. They're the problem. And while there's absolutely some of course there's incidents like that all the time still, but I'm just seeing a shift in that parents are being more they're more aware of how their actions and emotions and mirroring to the children, and which makes sense because that's my own journey and a lot
Yeah.
about what I
Well,
talk about.
exactly. I mean, we're best positioned to serve the people or the person we once were. So I
Yeah.
think probably because you're in that space, and if you've told them your story, which I'm assuming you probably have at some point, then they're that twigs. It's like, oh, it's not just me, and
Yeah.
they can see. Then now maybe they're consciously looking, whereas before, like you said, it was always just no, it's your problem, your problem. It's not me. But now they can see where the mirroring is.
Yeah, and I feel like society is shifting, right? I feel like more and more people are being more open
Mm-hmm.
because the old ways just don't work.
Yeah.
Whereas, I always go back to Bell Let's Talk Day. That's all great, but if we're not actually feeling
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
we're talking about, it only takes us so far. But I do believe that's opened a conversation around a bit more truth. And I
Yes.
remember I've always just been an open book, and sometimes to my detriment. But if I've had an argument with my husband, I'm just an open book. That's the way I've always been. And I remember like newer friends when I came to Kelowna and like, oh, I just love how real you are. I'm like, oh, sorry if that was a bit shocking. It makes me feel good because I know like we're having arguments in the home, but I feel like I'm the only one because none of my friends like really open up about that. Or
Mm-hmm.
everything appears to be perfect. And it's just not the case. We all go through ups and downs.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
So I feel like there's that changing as well, where people are more open.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And so obviously others have thought the same too, that people are more open to seeing this because you have filmed a documentary, right?
Yes, yes,
Um,
yes, yes.
and you just told me off camera here before we came on that the world wasn't ready for it before, but that was 2 years ago. So now it's being released now, correct?
Yeah, well that one anything to do with me, the release date. But yeah, it's been a really interesting few weeks. So back in September 2023,
Hmm.
a lady that was my client that really was looking for support for her own teenager
Okay.
came to me by way of another wonderful mother who realized in our community, me and her had this big heart to heart of wishing that there was more tools and support for our older children. And she knew my passion in working with children, and it was actually my youngest daughter. It was just coming out of COVID time, so she would have been 13, 14,
Hmm.
and she had several friends that were suicidal.
I remember you
And
telling me about that, and that's just
yeah, it
so
was a horrendous time with
terrific.
mental
Yeah.
health with that age group. And I remember one day picking up one child from middle school, one from high school, and there'd been so much chaos gone on at one school. And then I pick up my middle child, my eldest child had left school at this point, and she got in the car and she shared this incident, what had happened, which I won't share because there's some personal pieces to it for other children.
Yep.
It
Yep.
was horrendous. It was honestly one of the worst things that I'd heard, and it was a public display of crying for help in the school. And I cried. I sat at my wheel and I'm like, girls, this it's not meant to be like this. School is not meant to be like this.
No.
Your youth is not meant to be like this. I mean, up until me being a teenager, I knew one person that had ever taken their life, and I didn't know them closely. It was, a distant connection, and I remember that being shocking. But this was it was just becoming more and more common. This theme of suicide talk and severe depression and self-harm and abuse. I was like, what the heck is going on? And I sobbed at my wheel, and oh, it still brings up emotion.
Mm.
So I remember my youngest daughter, she said, well, why aren't you helping? She said, why aren't you doing more, Mom? Because and you've helped, like you've been able to help me, but why aren't you helping? Because the school counselors don't get it. The helpers don't get it. They don't understand it. And whew, that hit me.
I'm
And she was
sure.
right. I was holding myself back because there was this, who am I? Who am I to step in and try and make this change. And it was in COVID times. There was still a lot of restrictions and things and division and, it wasn't an easy time for many of
Oh,
us.
no, it was horrible.
And it was around that time that my dear friend Yvette, she had a studio and I just broke down to her and we both cried and cried as moms and was like, what can we do? And her kids was older and she gracefully offered me a space and just saw my vision, understood, like I was already working with children and doing some of this in my living room and one-on-one, but she understood that there was a bigger purpose. And so I began running a teen program called Teen Tuning. And Yvette was a real big part of that. She played sound and she really helped bring her own wisdom in. And with the girls, well, it was mostly girls in the beginning, the teen girls, we created this program. So it was written with them.
Oh, nice.
And when you can sit in circle with kids and truly hear them and see them as an equal, and everyone feels seen, heard, and understood, we created a really safe space. And it's something I'm really proud of because I know I helped them and taught them some things, but I don't think they'll ever know how much they all taught me. And so that's where it began. And so one of those teenagers was Tania, my friend, client turned friend, whose daughter came to class and she was seeking help for her daughter, and then realized that mirror because we'd had a moment of her hearing my story of how, once until I truly delved in and dealt with some of my old wounds and struggles, that I could then step up and help my own kids in a different way. She realized there was some alcohol misuse going on. And so anyway, she's now been sober for, 2.5 years.
Oh, that's
And she's a
fantastic.
filmmaker. She's a filmmaker.
Oh, she's
And
a
so she
filmmaker.
kept
Okay.
saying to me, I'm going to make a film about this. I'm going to make a film about this. This is a really important message. And honestly, in the beginning, I was like, really? How is this going to work? I didn't know her that well. And then she just, wow, it was, a true honor to have been a part of her transformation and walk with her in it. And she's now a lead facilitator at a recovery center, for addiction.
That's fantastic.
And she made this incredible documentary that we started filming, September 2023. And it was just screened June 25th. So it was kind of crazy to watch it back because I feel like a whole new human since then. And my own girls are in it, my two youngest. So Freya, who was the voice, the push to really start the groups, and then Gracie, my middle daughter, who was an older girl that came into the group. And really, I asked her to do that. I said, I want your input, because she'd always been my very vocal child that will call me out on all my stuff. And, because I've cleared so much of my own pain, I could hear her through this clear lens and not take it personal.
Right.
And I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not. We still have our moments because, we're a family. And
That's right.
but we've come a long way. And it was really cool to watch that documentary back. And she was interviewed, and she was just 18 when she was interviewed about her own mental health, because there was some frustrations with her because she wishes that I had started these groups when she was younger. And of course, we only know what we know.
That's right.
But that was hard for her. That was hard for her at that time to watch me support her younger sister and that age group. And for her to have gone through, she went through so much at age 15, 16. It was really challenging for her. But she's since wrote a song about her mental health, and that's in the documentary. And
Oh, I didn't know the song was in there too.
yeah, it's actually,
Because
she's
she
quite a
performed
lead.
that song too, locally, and won, didn't she? She won an award for that. Yeah.
But so the documentary was finished.
Yep.
Gracie had no idea that this documentary was going to be called Just Breathe. And it was still being put together, because it's not just about me and the teamwork and EFT. It's about Daniel's story and other healing modalities. So she was still making this film. And then one day she said, Maria, I need some music. And I said, I feel like you need to read the lyrics of this song Gracie has just written. So Gracie didn't write this until nearly a year after we filmed.
Okay.
And I remember listening to her song. She was practicing, and the emotion in my body was like, oh, people need to hear this.
Oh boy.
And it's called Breaking the Glass, and it's about breaking through your capacity and not feeling like you fit in, not feeling enough,
Yeah.
feeling like the girl who's not like everyone else. Because
Yeah.
she was such the deep feeler, really knew who she was at a young age. And then, of course, again, the world around us don't quite like that when we know we are. So she went through a lot of bullying and a lot of struggle, and then we didn't know how to handle some of this at home. There's a lot of arguments at home, and she's a real sensitive soul, and she felt all of that. And so this song that she wrote, Tania actually filmed her and layered it into the song. So the documentary is really cool because it's kind of shows her as this just 18-year-old, and then, I mean, her hair's a completely different color and everything by the time we get to the singing piece, but it really tells a story. And then she won a talent show here, Kelowna's Top Talent, with her original, and with the prize money, recorded that song, and it just went on Spotify. And this is all unknowing to this documentary.
Right.
Like, you can't make it up when you just trust that you're being guided by something bigger and more. Yeah. So, and you know, Grace even speaks on camera of how when I dealt with my wounds, my emotional troubles, and really delved into that, I could hear her. I could hear her needs more clearly. And
because you got rid of the noise.
Sorry?
Because you got rid of the noise. Like, we all have our own noise, but if it's so loud that we're not hearing our children, I think probably a lot of women don't realize how loud their noise is, and they're not hearing their families.
Well, and our own insecurities, you know, what I've realized with each of my girls, when I look back, I've got 3 girls, and whenever they were struggling with something, it was a huge reflection of that inner part of me, that younger version of me. And actually, with Gracie in particular, we had this troubled birth. There was a lot of trauma there.
Okay.
Of me feeling guilty that my body couldn't, you know, carry her to full term. And a lot of trauma of being in the hospital and all what went on. She stopped breathing multiple times. There was a lot in that.
Oh my gosh.
And then seeing her when she was younger as being the sick child, even though she wasn't, but subconsciously, I didn't give any awareness to emotionally what that time did for me. Because back then, and even now, I mean, there's very little education on, you know, medical trauma in the hospital system and what we go through. So, I mean, that's just one piece. There's so much more to it, but I hope that gives people an understanding of how the body holds the memory. The body holds these traumas, and even though logically I know that I needed medical intervention and medical help, or I probably would have died and she would have, subconsciously my body felt some shame, and then I had trouble nursing her and, you know, other things. It's profound what we hold on to, and then how the root of those emotions shape us in so many ways. And so there was shame that I was holding on to. And then that's, you know, magnified by other experiences of trauma and events in life. And
it's just so toxic holding on to all that shame.
It is. It is.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I have not seen the documentary yet. So where can we see it? Or is it out yet? You said there was a screening, but...
There was a screening. I believe YouTube is now, I think it's on there publicly. I will have to confirm that because there's talk of another showing. This is all still very fresh. And so I will find that out this week. 100%.
Yeah, send me the link because I'd love to put it in the notes for this. So hopefully by the time this airs, then we can link that and everybody can just watch this and go watch the documentary. And I'm excited to see it. I really am.
Yeah, it's got a great message in there for, I think, specifically mothers. You know, we can be really hard on ourselves and think that we've damaged our children and, oh my goodness, if I'd have known this sooner. Whereas I mean, obviously it was filmed a couple of years ago, but I feel like there's a real good message in there of, we can all do repair work
I think,
and we're not broken. Just trusting that these experiences happen for all of our growth. Our kids need this growth as well. Like, as much as, of course, I would have much rather my daughter not go through all that pain and suffering. Would she have
of course.
wrote that song? Would she be truly like living her passion right now
Yeah,
and
right?
have so much emotion as she sings and be on this path? I don't believe she would. And so there's
Probably
a
not.
part of that we have to trust as well, that we don't always see everything.
Yeah. Well, all of our experiences that we've had, consciously, unconsciously, all the things, they're shaping us to where we are now. But then back to what you do, it doesn't have to make us be stuck there.
No.
So I love that that's where Gracie came out the other side, like she's watched and she's learned and she's seen you go through all your stuff and get rid of that and deal with it and deal with the emotional trauma. And just for her to then come to terms with that and then be able to express herself in such an amazing way, that's, I think
And
that's,
she's
that's a
very
huge,
self-responsible for herself. Like, she's very good at, catching herself in her own patterns as well. I mean, she's taught me a lot, a lot.
we do learn a lot from our kids, don't we? If we pay
We
attention, we
do.
go,
All three of mine have taught me like so much. It's, so much. My firstborn, when I look back, she was the one edging me this way, really, and why I started working with children all along. And I look at all three of mine, I'm sure as many mothers do, and it's like, wow, we can just pause. And I think when we can see it from that angle as well, and come at parenting from that avenue of being honest with them and saying, I've not done this before. I'm gonna mess up. I messed up and I'm sorry. And sometimes just those real conversations can open up so many doors.
yeah, there's no instruction manual.
No.
Unfortunately, right? There's no instruction manual. Sometimes we feel like a terrible failure, and other times, yeah, things work out really well. But oh, that's just so. I love the work that you're doing, and I love seeing that your posts and the positivity that's coming, and it's just you've grown so much in the last couple of years. Just with in terms of how many women that you're seeing, and that it's grown from the small little groups to bigger groups to now the husbands are coming in and you're working with the addictions counseling and the whole thing, and it's just I'm sure it's really satisfying to you.
Yeah, I just, why I love EFT so much is it's a tool that you can learn for yourself. There aren't many modalities out there that you can truly do for yourself. I mean, there's some amazing stuff out there. Hypnosis, EMDR are really amazing as well at working, with past trauma and the inner child. But there aren't many things like EFT that you can truly learn for yourself. And I love, love, love when I get the feedback from clients, because I generally see people 3 to 6 sessions and they're having like massive transformation. Unless, I mean, they often come back if there's maybe been a death or they're changing jobs or a separation or health. But for the most part, like, I have many people that I don't see for a long, long time. And then I'll get the feedback. Or they maybe come for one session because there's something that they're like, oh, I just know I'm so close and I just can't quite unravel and break free from this. Like, they've got all the awareness and they're like, what is it? And it's really just a trust thing. It's having that co-regulation, that second person to hold space. And with EFT, I'm referring back to them through all of their words. So people feel very seen and heard.
Okay.
And then we can work with that younger part of us, the teen in us. Maybe it's through our parents. There's the different pieces there, and it's a tool that you can learn for yourself. And that's what I love. And I'm really big on that, is teaching people how to use it for themselves. And then I have many clients who've got younger kids and now they're, telling me, oh, I was doing this with my 4-year-old. And there's some books you can even get for EFT with young children. And that's the stuff that just lights me up, because I know when we can help the parent, the mother, the father, it ripples out. And I've worked with like four generations of the same family. That's becoming more of a common thing. Well, it's happened a few times now where I've worked with teen mom and then mother and even grandmother. That was really special.
Wow.
That was really special. That was a much older lady. Um, and it's so powerful. It's so powerful, you know, to be able to bring that and then connect families. They have a language that they're using together and they
Hmm.
feel empowered, you know, when we've got these tools. So I'm really big on helping families build their own toolkits. We can save ourselves a lot of money. And I'm a huge advocate for all counselling, mental health support across the board. And also, when I have clients come see me that have been with the same talk therapist for 7, 8 years and they're still stuck trying to take charge of their body weight or something, then we have to ask, is that actually working?
Yeah.
Are we really getting to the root?
Yes.
And so that's the difference with EFT because we're working with the mind and the body. And you know, if anyone understands somatics, when we work, we hold so much in the body, and so when we can connect the two, oh, it brings so much freedom.
I love that. Oh my goodness. Well, on that note, is there what's your final thoughts and words of wisdom if you had to sum it all up? What would you like to share?
Oh, sum it all up. I think a really great message that I get feedback off this a lot when it comes through with clients and just in groups is we're so quick to tell ourselves we're broken.
Mm.
There's something wrong with us. We're broken. When I'm healed, when I've done this, I'll be whole.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're not broken. We're not broken. And when we can remember that, even for just a few moments of just acknowledging that all parts of us are okay, we're just out of balance, is what's happening a lot of the time. When everything feels crazy and hard and difficult, we're just not in balance. But we're not broken.
No.
And this is, you know, at EFT, a huge part of EFT is acknowledging all the things. It's acknowledging the hard emotions and embracing them all, because that's where true freedom lies, is when we can get really comfortable with feeling the shame for a few moments and like, oh, that felt really uncomfortable. I'm embarrassed about that. I feel that shame. And also just accepting it happened and moving through it and not getting stuck in it. And so we can get really good at feeling the shame, feeling the anger, feeling the acceptance, feeling the love, feeling the joy, like feeling all of it. That's where freedom is, because this human experience is very difficult to stay in that high vibe, peaceful enlightenment state all of the time, you know, because we get thrown stuff at us. So yeah, big message. We're not broken, and we just maybe need to come back into balance somewhat, more into the being, less into the doing, and just to stay curious, to stay open. I feel like I see the people who feel the most stuck, it's usually because they've got this perception of how things are meant to be.
Okay.
And those people are just, even if it's just that little opening of curiosity, I feel like the more we can be open to that, we get guided. And it may come through a message. There's that saying, what's the saying? When you're ready, the teacher will appear.
Ah, yes.
And that teacher can come in all shapes and sizes. You know, it might be some lyrics in a song, it might be a stranger, it might be a post you see on social media. And just trusting, like, why did I see that at that moment? So I feel like, oh, the more we can just be curious and open, otherwise we miss a lot. We can miss a lot, I feel.
Yeah. I love that. And life's too short to miss anything.
Yeah, I mean, I don't believe we miss what's truly meant for us, but we can make things a little bit harder.
Yeah.
We could get there a little bit quicker. I know for me on my journey, I'm like, oh man, if only I'd have known that sooner. I mean, I've worked through it and still it'd have been a lot easier.
Yeah. But you know what? As you said with Gracie, with her song, would you then be in the best position to serve the women that you're serving, serve the people that you're serving? Really?
Yeah, exactly. I
I think you
I
just have more
have
tools now in your
total
toolbox.
acceptance. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and I work a lot with the forgiveness practice. I'm not sure if you've heard of the Ho'oponopono, the Hawaiian forgiveness prayer. It's like,
Oh,
I'm
I've,
sorry, please forgive me, I love you,
yeah.
thank you.
Hmm.
Yeah, I love that because I feel like, again, that's just a really good message of forgiving ourselves and also forgiving the human experience of the pieces that we just can't control at times. So that's been a big, well, I'd say probably one of my biggest learnings, to be honest, leaning into that piece a little bit more.
Wow. Well, that's fantastic. Well, on that note, thank you so much for joining me here today. It was a pleasure, and I cannot wait to see that documentary. I will definitely share it out there far and wide because I think there's a lot of benefit in that for people to see exactly what you do and exactly how they can start helping themselves.
I know, thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. All right. Have an awesome day.
Thanks, Tanya.